Hey there, Kishan here from Heart Mind Astrology. For this video, I'm going to talk about my perspective on the four elements commonly talked about in many esoteric traditions. The four elements, at least in the Western tradition, are fire, air, earth, and water. I won't be getting into the transformations of these elements, otherwise commonly known as alchemy, but more so about these four elements and why they're important in astrology and what their sort of essential nature is, in my opinion. I view these four elements as very dynamic symbols that stir our intuition or pattern recognition. And if you're not sure what that means, go ahead and watch my first video on intuition and symbols in the description below, and that might give you a better sense of what I mean by intuition. The elementals are four foundational symbols which prime our conscious mind for unconscious patterns that are poetically inherent in all of nature. Artists commonly create using the imagery of these four elements, and they're said to constitute the natures of our existence. It's the common language. But what is their essence in terms of astrology? What are we getting at when we say that someone's an earth sign, or someone's an air sign, or a fire sign? I would claim that we're tapping into a person's unconscious nature as you contemplate the dominant element in their chart. As you engage your soul or activate your unconscious by contemplating the element, you begin to tap the intuitive field of meaning that this element makes up, which is vast and at times scarily informative. For example, all of us have known an airy type of person, someone who imbibes the element of air. They can be very spacey, constantly in their thoughts, making connections, passing along information. Often people who talk the most and who love to talk for talking's sake. And air dominant people, they like to tell people their ideas and live in the world of ideas and abstraction. Abstraction is their muse. Air allows for higher level connections. And it's that distance of objectivity. And of course, we who are not familiar with the elements as such just know these qualities, but that's really what these elements are pointing to. It's about pointing to these qualities that we know, and we know that they cluster into certain patterns, but our language doesn't do a great job of clustering the patterns appropriately. And so these symbols are kind of the remedy to that. And so that's an air person. And air people tend to have a reputation for being detached, and it kind of just makes intuitive sense. That's the whole point of these symbols. So similarly, we've all met hardened earthy types. The people who are grounded and have a clear sense of purpose of who they are and what they need to do. They have a concreteness about the way they live their lives and have firm goals. They have a material sensibility, and they value the practical and tangible things and the physical and form. They have an innate sense of method and getting things done and the process that's required without getting too caught up in their feelings or getting caught up in creativity. They just perfect the form, plan, sculpt, shape things, and with discipline, they find the most essential path to their goal. But sometimes they can be too entwined with their objects, not detached enough. And again, like, we all know a person like this who is a lot more practical and oriented to material reality, and we don't think of them as earth sign, but it comes up in our language at times. This person is really earthy, or this person's really hardened, or this person is really firm in their convictions, and it really does point to the earth element. And so if we understand the symbol of the earth element, and we know that some person has some qualities that resonate with it, we can almost deduce from that some of these other qualities might be there too. Of course, it's a little more creative than that, but it's a good start. Hopefully, I didn't offend anybody with either of those descriptions. Again, it's just to stir your intuition a bit. I like to view the four elements as the art supplies of astrology. is you learn about the techniques and the way that numbers, degrees line up, and the way that um, planets fall into houses and debilitation and all that stuff. You inform those placements, in my opinion, with heart and soul. It's a process of bringing these placements into the consciousness of air, earth, fire, and water, translating them into the language of subjectivity, of human nature. Um, and this, I believe, is what sets apart the truly intuitive astrologers from the ones who adhere to strict tradition and mechanical interpretation, and sort of that lack of personal touch. Because astrology, in my opinion, is a science and an art. And like art, it's an expression of yourself, your own subjectivity, an expression that brings you towards truth via your own subjectivity, your own creativity. Many won't agree with this definition because it risks the credibility of astrology in an entirely too logical and sort of science-centric patriarchal world. But I think like truly anything great, it needs to be an art and a science. And the truly great ways of knowing have come about as arts and sciences, or eventually the science got to a point where it also became an art. Hopefully that makes sense. So the elements are meditative symbols, and if you didn't even learn the 12 signs, houses, or whatever, if you just contemplated these four symbols and allowed your pattern recognition to proceed, you would find very soul resonant images, food for the poet. And as an astrologer, color for the colorless pages, music ensouled within the chart of a person. So to wrap up, the elements are symbolic images that are malleable and poetic. Understanding the elements can tap you into a field of unconscious patterns that inform a chart, inform a person, inform the soul of a person. And they tap us into the heart of many astrological influences in their chart and the unspoken language of nature itself. There's still so much we could talk about, but I'll leave it there for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.